Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. In the last video, I was working on my abandoned VW penjing, and I removed the one lemon cypress from the planting because it was such a bright green color. It just didn't look natural with this setting. So today I'm going to pot up that lemon cypress in its own pot and develop it as a bonsai. I've left the lemon cypress in the bucket of water overnight. So I'll clean the roots off, kind of swish them around, and then I can start the root pruning. I'm thinking of planting the lemon cypress in this pot that Sophie made. It's got purples in it and blues, and because the lemon cypress is so bright colored, it's almost like a fluorescent green. I think it'll look good. This will kind of be the opposite color. So purple is the opposite of yellow, and red is the opposite of green, and it has some kind of nice purples in here, so I think it'll look quite good in this pot. Here's a look at the root system on the tree. So I'll begin the pruning. There's lots of good radial roots. So I'm going to start, this one is a little too high, it's too horizontal, it doesn't flow down into the soil, so I'm going to remove that one. Like that. There's a few root hairs sticking up here. This root, it kind of flows down nicely into the soil and then it divides here. This part of it's sticking up out of the soil, so I'll prune that back. There's some root hairs sticking up here that I'll get rid of. This root is really nice. It comes down from lower. I'll just shorten it. There's a few root hairs I can shorten there, or small roots. This root, you can see it got a bit damaged when I was pulling it out. And again, it's too horizontal. So I'm going to remove it actually. There's a few roots sticking up here, just fine ones. And here. There's a root coming off of this root that isn't very flowing, so I'm going to actually remove it because it comes from the top of that root. It doesn't really flow nicely. A few roots sticking up here. From the end of that one off. This one is nice and radial, but this part is getting a little too far off radial, so I'll remove that. There's a part of this root that goes kind of 90 degrees here. I'm going to prune it back shorter. Like that. And then I've got this root. It flows down in the soil a little bit, not a whole lot. I'll just clean up a few of these roots around it. And I think I'll keep it, but I'll prune off this part that turns 90 degrees, so that part comes off. I would rather them angled down more. It's a little horizontal, but if I take it off, I don't have much on this side. So I'm going to leave it, and maybe something I'll develop down lower that I can replace it with someday. This root under here, it also comes out, then it goes 90 degrees, so I'll take off the part of it that's on a strange angle. And then there's a root here. This one comes down, and then it cuts back underneath the root base, so I'm going to prune it off. Right like that. Now, I'm going to go underneath the tree. There's one going straight down here I can prune off. Trim all these roots on the bottom so it's flat on the bottom. It will be going into quite a shallow pot. comb out these roots on the bottom. Make sure they're all going radial. There's one here that's kind of growing a bit too far down. That's pretty good underneath. So now I need to do a profile prune on the top. You can see some of these roots are a bit long. So I'll come in, just trim off all the really long ones. To that, and I think that's going to do it. I think that's a pretty good looking root system. Turn this one back a bit. Yeah, I think that's good. It's the best I can make it at this point in time. So, time to plant up the tree. Now, for a front for the tree, tough decision. Probably somewhere here looks best. Sort of there. Alright, I'll get a drainage screen in the bottom of the pot, a nice big one. I think that'll do. And I'll add a base layer of soil. Alright. In goes the soil. I think I'll be planting the tree probably center in the pot at this stage. I think the tree will grow quite symmetrically. So, alright, I'll get another scoop of soil and get the tree planted. Just put a little more in the middle here. And then I have to pick a front for this pot. It's got this really cool drippy glaze on it. So let me see here. It's 3 feet on the bottom, so I'm going to have the 2 feet to each side. It doesn't really matter. It looks good from all sides, this pot. I think I'll make this the front. Okay, I'm ready to plant the tree. So I'm going to be looking at the front of the pot right here. And I've got to get the front of my tree lined up. I think that is good. And I'm going to put the tree on center in the pot. So I've got to make sure all the roots are combed out. I think that's good. And then I've got it, it's on center. I've got to get the height of my tree now. So I'll just rotate it down into the soil. And I'll probably leave a little bit of a mound of soil in the middle, so I could kind of rake it away eventually and expose some of the roots. Still a little high there. That's a good height, I think. Okay, so now I can surround the roots with soil. And as I'm working the soil in, I'll lift the tree up just a little bit to make sure all those fine roots are kind of flowing down into the soil, that they're not too horizontal. So I'll just grab the tree and kind of lift as I'm working the soil into the roots. So this soil is half perlite and half safety zorb, which is like a clay product used for cleaning up oil spills. And you have to make sure it doesn't break down with water. And this stuff's quite good. And I didn't sift the perlite. I don't think the fine particles will hurt with the perlite, so I'm going to try that out. Now let me just tamp it all down. tree feels firm in the pot. Okay, and then I can just top my soil level up. So here I go. Leaving a little more in the middle here. I'll just work that in towards the edges of the pot. I think that's pretty good. Okay, I think that's good. It's planted. So let's have a look at it before I water it, make sure I'm happy with it. Here's a look at the tree in the pot. I think it looks quite nice. I'm going to be shaping the top, but I'll wait until the roots have got established in the pot and the tree's growing nicely. So I think it's time to give the tree a water now. Okay, here I go with the water. It's coming out the drainage holes now. Or drainage hole. I'll rotate the tree so you can see it from all angles. So here's the current front, coming around to the right hand side, to the back, the left hand side, and back to the front. I was doing some research on lemon cypress. I was wondering, well, what does a really old one look like? So I went online and I looked it up, and they're more of a shrub. They grow to about a meter tall at the most in a pot, and in the ground they can grow to 1 or 2 meters, maybe even 3. So they don't get really big. They don't turn into giant trees. But there are other cypress, the Italian cypress, that gets quite large, and I was looking at the shapes of them, and they grow very tall and well, a conical shape, but very, very tight. And I'll show you some photos of those. That was a look at some cypress trees. So I was thinking, well, how am I going to style this tree? Chris Marshall from CM Bonsai has a really nice one where he spread the branches out and made it look more like a typical tree you would see. And I thought, well, how do I want to style my tree? Do I want it in that tight conical form, or do I want it spreading? And I think I'm going to go somewhere in between. So I'll continue pruning to outwards facing branches, but I'll maintain this sort of flame shape, or this spear shape or conical shape, and just see how it does. The beauty of this tree will be the roots and the bark and the branches getting age into the woody part of the tree, and the top will just be kind of bright. And yeah, I'll just keep clipping growing it and see what it turns into. I think it'll always stay an upright tree like this, but I think as it matures, I think it'll get character to the lower part of the tree, and should look quite ancient someday, I hope. So that is all for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.